Well, now we're in for a treat. We never know what Rob's got up his sleeve. But it's always something very special. So, Rob Perry, over to you.
In association with Edna Care of Switzerland and the International Friends of the Prostate PLC, presents the distinguished world megastar, Dr. the Dame, Edna Emmerich.
I hear you started without me. I apologise for being late. It was, I had a gynecologist appointment at 7:45 and I was hurrying here as fast as I could. There's a reason that it went on for so long, and, well, it was all very dramatic. For a moment there, he thought he might have found something wrong, and all of a sudden I had a whole horde of specialists swarming all over me. And at the end of the examination I said, "Well, doctors, what's the verdict?" And they said, "Oh, we'll tell you a private physician." I said, "I'm not leaving here until you've all given me the thumbs up." And 10 minutes later, I stepped into my limo, a very happy woman. I know a lot of you are wondering what a rich and talented megastar like me is doing in a nondescript little church camp. And the reason is very, very simple. I was in a meeting the other day with my little market research consultants, and they came up with some pretty spooky statistics. They said to me, they said, "You know, you don't just appeal to discriminating and discerning people, Dame Edna." They said, "You also appeal to people like progressive Christian communities." And I thought to myself, I must make myself available. And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm making myself quite simply available and accessible. Don't get me wrong, by the way. I have a lot of respect for Christianity. I've seen the Shroud of Turin. And I'm quite convinced that it's authentic. I don't believe that it's an old dishcloth with a picture of Billy Connolly. I was hunting around Woolworths for a new dishcloth the other day, as a matter of fact, and during this Kiwi holiday of mine, and who should I bump into? John Rolls. Now that he hasn't got his dancing rehearsals to go to, he's got time to do the groceries. I've known John since he was a bubba, and in those days I was a bit of a psychic. I was into something very special back then, something called necromancy. I was able to read the future from a kiddie's nappy. People used to bring their children to me for reading. One day there was a little tap on the kitchen door, and it was John Roll's father carrying his 1-year-old son, and with just the release of a safety pin. Little Johnny's future was unfurled before me. study it in too much detail, but I went through the motions. And I saw John Rolls chart success. I saw a lot of number ones. And I even saw the occasional number two. By the way, my New Zealand bridesmaid, Madge, also sends her apologies tonight. She's grieving. Yeah, it was quite tragic. Her husband, Doug Alsop, perished last week under tragic circumstances. It was awful. Poor old Doug, he was leaning against a railing, taking a snapshot on a bridge at one of the tourist spots in Rotorua, and he fell into one of the pools. As luck would have it, there were a lot of experienced swimmers around at the time. Unfortunately, none of them had had experience in boiling mud. Madge is devastated, of course. Poor darling. I've been providing a shoulder for her to cry on. Madge and I go back a long way. I was talking with my gynecologist about Madge and myself just earlier on, as a matter of fact, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, Edna, you go back a long way. Madge really was my bridesmaid. She caught my bouquet, as a matter of fact. On the back of the neck. I wiped out an entire nerve centre. Poor old Madge. As much as I enjoy supporting her through this difficult time, it can get a bit exhausting after a while, and well, sometimes I find I just can't give of myself anymore. I can't. I would if I could, but I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't. And when I start feeling drained, I like to climb into my jacuzzi with a good Barbara Cartman novel. Mind you, I always was a great bookworm. Even as a young girl, when I first started to grow hair I could sit on, I was always under the bedspread with a torch. And then one day our family doctor suggested I give that up and take up reading, and I've never looked back. But, well, I like to have a jacuzzi on my own. But every time Madge slips in like an alligator, and I see her nostrils above the surface of the water. And you know, you lose the soap, don't you? I mean, you lose it in an ordinary bath, but in a jacuzzi the search is impossible. I never know whether it's up my end or Madge's. It's usually up hers. Thank goodness for soap on a rope, that's what I mean. But this tragedy has made the bond between Madge and myself even stronger. Because, as many of you will know, my own husband, Norm, passed away 2 months ago. I mean, he had already been clinically dead 5 times. But this is it, I'm afraid. And Norm had a rumbling prostate. In the beginning, it was just a murmur. But after about 6 months, the neighbours started complaining. I've had Norm's prostate hanging over my head for many, many years. He never let on about it, the poor darling. Yeah, he kept it under his hat. But it had to leak out in the end. Possums, I just want to remind you, don't forget World Prostate Day, April 17th. Remember to check your prostate or the prostate of someone you love. Thank you, darling.
Thank you, Ben, and you're a hard act to follow.